Hi, Spring River students. How's it going this week? This is a week 2 introduction to the material that we're studying. We're in chapter 6 this week and talking about surveying and interviewing and collecting data and that sort of thing. So just kind of wanted to cover a few things with you real quick to kind of help you out there if you need that. So one of the interesting tables I found, it's a pretty good one here. Actually, it's on page 126 in your book. It's table 6.1, and it gives a pretty good overview of all the different kinds of interviewing strategies or data collection strategies that you could use when you're in your host company collecting data. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention about collecting data. You know, surveys are great, and there's pros and cons listed for surveys and questionnaires. But the thing you have to remember when you do that, it's very kind of impersonal, if you will. And oftentimes you don't get to follow up and ask questions of somebody who wrote something or responded to your questionnaire, because you won't be able to go back and find them. It'd be anonymous probably. That's the quantitative side of doing surveys. If you do interviews and observations and you just collect data like qualitative type data, then you can get much closer to the person and who they are and what they're thinking, and you can always go back and follow up. So consider both. Quantitative is easier to actually collect some data, and it's very prescriptive in how you analyze it with mean, standard deviation, and that sort of thing. But sometimes you can't do good follow-up with it for someone who answered a question. The qualitative side is much harder, takes a lot longer, but you get a richer set of data as well. So a little bit about the qualitative side, the interviewing side. There's some notes on page 129 you may want to pay attention to. Let me just give you a few pointers about qualitative interviewing. So I like that approach the best. As I said, I think it gets you closer to the person and how they're feeling and what they're thinking about. It's great if you can have a relationship with them first, though, like establish some rapport, especially with somebody in your own company. You're going to be seeing them a lot. Establish a connection with them so that when you talk and have a conversational type interview, it's very natural and free-flowing, and they'll share a lot. Establish some guiding questions, but don't ask leading questions. Be very open-ended with the types of questions you ask. The best advice I can give you is ask a question or two and then be quiet and let them talk. Just let them talk. You'd be surprised people don't like that pregnant pause. So ask the question and then get yourself out of the way and just listen. Take notes. Now when you take notes, here's what I'd recommend. Write down their quotes. Don't write down your interpretation of their quotes. At this point, get as close to the actual quote that you can get. If you can have a tape recorder going, or a digital recorder rather, do it, as long as they know that you're doing it. Otherwise, write down their actual words. It's called verbatim evidence. Get as close as you can to the verbatim evidence when you're doing qualitative type interviews. And again, don't attempt to interpret what they're saying in the moment when you're talking to them. Now, you can ask clarifying questions here and there. There's no problem with that. But listen very carefully and get a sense of what they're telling you. During the analysis portion of qualitative data, here's what I'd recommend. Write down all their statements and start pulling out words and phrases that are repeating. Try to pull some themes out of that, group those words and phrases together into different themes, and then those themes can go into different categories. And from there, you'll be able to start understanding really what they're trying to tell you, and go back and verify with them. Find them in your company. Go back and say, hey, here's what I think you told me, and just have a conversation with them about that. Okay, a few more things here. In the Blackboard in 2.1, the dialogue that you have to do for this week, key in on pages 142 to 152. There's a lot there about the particular dialogue, Blackboard dialogue 2.1 that you have to complete. But again, that's pages 142 to 152. Let's see, when you're doing the lab work in week 2, one of the questions, it's question 3, talks about finding scholarly articles. Now listen, here's a great way to vet scholarly articles if you haven't done this already. Find Google Scholar. Don't search with Google, search with Google Scholar. And it searches through, generally you're going to get those peer-reviewed articles back, scholarly articles and that sort of thing. Plus there's a neat little feature. Each item that Google Scholar finds, there's a little button that says Cite. If you click on the word Cite, C-I-T-E, it gives you 3 different ways to cite that particular reference if you want to use it. One of those ways is APA. Now it's not quite in the right form, but it's pretty close. So it'll get you started. Again, use Google Scholar. The annotated bib that they're looking for in the project work, that's built off from week 1's 5 or 6 scholarly articles that you had to go out and find. So hopefully you use Google Scholar for those as well. Otherwise, you may have had to do a lot of work to get there. But yeah, and also use OWL, Purdue's OWL online, their online writing lab. You can Google search that. It's a great source for getting formats for like annotated bibliographies or reference sections, if you will, and generally APA style writing. So, okay, hope that's helpful, and I'll talk to you later.